Hey everybody, and welcome to it's a W word, Written and Watched, where we read a book and talk about it, then watch the movie and talk about it. This is the second part of the Andromeda Strain. Laughing Briar and I have now watched the Andromeda Strain and can talk about all of the stuff in toto. Briar, do you want to introduce yourself, tell people what's going on, a little bit about your book, the Kickstarter, all that stuff?
Sure. Hey everybody, Briar here. I am a science fiction and fantasy, originally short story author, now turned full-blown novelist. I have a book called Gambling on Common Sense. If you like murder bots, red shirts, it's probably in that vein. So check me out. The book is now live after a successful over 535% funded Kickstarter.
Yeah. That's more than fingers I have. You got to do it like a little first fingers. Knuckle. There you go. It's interesting you plug it right away with murder bots. And
I love murder bots.
You mean like Daleks and stuff or just generic murder bots?
Oh, there's actually a series called The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells, and it's amazing. Okay, so future thing we should do, because I think they actually are coming out with a TV show on it, and I would love to do a Written and Watched future on Murderbots.
All right, Murderbots. I will go check it out and do some more reading. In reading news, my fiance is big on the Fourth Wing series. Are you familiar with that at all?
I am. I heard it went big on TikTok.
It went big on TikTok, yeah.
But then it also got a lot of like back and forth. I don't know if it was like jealousy of success or if it like I don't know.
So the couple of ones that I have not read, but I've seen other people reading, and my fiance read these, is A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Okay, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that and then Fourth Wing apparently are strong female protagonist, kind of a little sexy, smutty times, and then one has dragons and one has magic. So it's like fantasy bodice terrors. I'm like, all right. Terrors like torn, not like scary bodices, by the way.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite memes from like the TikTok reading BookTok stuff is this guy in a motorcycle helmet, like, oh, what I expect BookTok to be about. And it's like, yes, I fall in love. He gingerly takes my hand, blah, blah, blah. And then it's just him holding the motorcycle helmet as he just reads beep, 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 as he beep, 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 beep. It's like, oh, yeah. Smart spells.
I feel like BookTok is right adjacent to Thirst Talk. Like they're both kind of in the same wheelhouse, which is cool. I mean, it's bringing
human nature.
I appreciate that it's bringing brick and mortar back too. Like Barnes and Noble is set to open stores, like 100 new stores next year, or 25. So this year. So Barnes and Noble's opening new stores. The front of the store is all BookTok recommendations now. And then there's a bunch of independent stores that are doing better than they ever have. Like there's this whole desire for analog. And I'm like, this is great. This is fantastic. Like as a person who grew up wanting a library in their house, and now I have like a room that has one wall that's all bookshelves. I'm like, yes, more paper, please. I need all the paper. Or to quote Waterworld, oh, the paper, the paper. I don't know. Deep quote on awful movie. Today, we're talking about the Andromeda Strain, the film. It's 1971. Yep, 1971. It is based on Michael Crichton's novel, and it is adapted by Nelson Gidding. He did some other stuff. Not a lot of stuff that you'd probably know. A lot of television movies, and then like maybe a dozen films. But the big swing on this is Robert Weiss is the director. Are you familiar with Robert Weiss?
Not really.
This is an old Hollywood dude who has a hell of a career. His earliest stuff, he was a sound editor on Of Human Bondage in 1934. Okay. He was the editor for The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1939, like the old black and white, just barely talkie.
I didn't even know it existed, but it makes sense.
1939, yeah. And then as a director, his first movie was Curse of the Cat People in 1944. He did both Sound of Music and What's the other music? Oh, West Side Story. So the old West Side Story he directed, and The Sound of Music he directed. And then he does the Andromeda Strain. And his last film he did in 2000. So it's a dude with a filmography that's over 61 years.
Wow.
So that's the dude that's directing it. So I think that's kind of a solid pedigree. I think that kind of leads into the rest of the stuff. So,
yeah. And you say he started in sound, and then he did those musicals, which are incredibly classical musicals that I still love.
Yeah, and I think back to watching the movie, and some of the sound design was really interesting. And I'm wondering how much he was like plugged into that, especially since it's very modern for 1971.
Yeah, I kind of want to rewatch it just in terms of the sound, because I wasn't paying as much of attention. I will admit, I watched this at about midnight. Just like, oh no, I got to get this done.
I've been watching these, I watch enough movies for this, and some of them have the older like pacing, especially a movie from the 70s. So this does have that slower pacing, which I didn't mind. And I actually watched it's a 2-hour movie. It's a solid lock-in 2 hours plus credits and all that. But in watching it, I watched about the first hour at normal speed, and then I put it about 1.1 speed where they don't sound crazy. And it works. Like it made it felt a little more modern when I did that. But let's do kind of gestalt. What was your open the door hot take? I just watched Andromeda Strain and on this one.
Sure. So I would say it's faithful to the book, maybe to a fault. You don't get any adaptations that are really like big changes in the story or anything like that. There's a couple things. I think the one probably big change in it is one of the doctors is not just generic white guy number 4. It is generic white girl number 4.
Yeah. Dr. Lovett. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one that has the epilepsy episodes is the one.
Yeah, it was a really interesting choice, especially with the lady that they chose. She's probably, it's 1971, so I don't know how old she is, but I would guess she's like 50s. She's been in her career. She's a PhD. She teaches at a university. She's dominant in the lab. And there are times after the epilepsy where somebody says, why didn't she tell us? Why didn't this come up? And one of the other doctors is like, well, I don't know. Prejudice, discrimination, kind of all of the things that we do. And he called out, like, which is a very, very nice kind of
it did give a reason. It did give a reason that the other character did not have and was never explained. So that's a good call out.
Yeah, that was interesting. But the same guy that called that out was Dr. Mark Hall, who's got the dead man key. And it's funny because he calls that out, but earlier on in the thing, he's the one who's like listening to the voice that's coming over the microphone and being like, "Hey, what's your name? What floor are you on?"
Gladys. Oh,
yeah, hey, Gladys.
Name. She's like a 60-year-old lady who pre-recorded it.
And then one of the other people's like, "She's 63 and in Texas." Yeah. Okay. So it's interesting that you think that. So did you miss having new stuff in the adaptation, or were you okay with what it kind of had?
I think because we did it relatively back to back with the book, it felt perhaps redundant, at least from my direct experience. Yeah. I think if there'd been space between when we had read it and when we had watched it, I might have a different take. But because it's all was fresh in my mind. Yeah. That's probably why I have that take as the initial, like, yes, this is very faithful. Yeah. Which is a funny thing to say, because I know a common criticism of adaptations from books is like, oh, that didn't happen in the book. Oh, they ruined this character because they didn't follow it faithfully. And I think that because you're dealing with a new medium, there is room to, at least in how it's filmed, the setting you have, the camera angles, whatever it is, there's room to change up a story and maybe give more than what you had in the book. And I don't know, aside from that character swap, I don't know if I got anything new. It's just a different way to experience the same story.
So I think that the Andromeda Strain is a better movie than book.
Yeah.
And I think it's a better movie than book because in the text, they spend so much time going deep into the science and explaining the wibbly wobbly, how the things work. And that's antiquated. And when I was watching it, like it's fully 1970s technology, but it's like bleeding edge 1970s technology. So they're using ASCII art to show images on a computer screen. He's got a light pen so he can do touches on the screen.
God. Yeah.
And because of all that, you go, it's easier for me to suspend my disbelief in the way they're doing science because the tech I'm seeing on screen is in line with the tech that's in their heads. Does that make sense? Like it helped pull me backwards.
Yeah. And also just, this was in the 1970s when this came out. So everything that we're seeing, that we're so used to, that we're so accustomed to with touchscreen, the different technologies, it's, I can see that being a revolutionary film for the time in a way that it feels somewhat commonplace now.
Yeah. And well, it's that thing where you look at science fiction that's like cyberpunk stuff and they're like, okay, what if it's all an awful world and our tech is awesome, but we live in a shit place? Or the other direction where it's like utopian tech and there's a split between the haves and the have-nots and the rich people get all the benefits of technology. You know, the thing we're kind of cruising towards now. But that thing that we normalize right now where we look into the future, and even 2001 A Space Odyssey, which isn't too long after this, there's this clean, hopeful, tech will save us kind of thing. And I really like looking at the 1971 manufactured computer terminals that are just full of buttons. Because at this point, we're 2 years off landing on the moon, right? So this is in production while we're landing on the moon. So that has to have heavy influence on this. And they go, okay, you don't directly program unless you have to. You program and then you have a button that does one thing. And they're all labeled and you have one button for everything. And so that kind of tech I've seen in newsreels and I've seen in things. And it's a very mechanical, manual, kind of Rube Goldberg device thought process about how things work instead of execute everything in code and just have hamburger appear. Yeah.
I will say, just from a UI perspective, having those buttons, if you look at like a Tesla's got the screen. A lot of folks nowadays miss the buttons because you don't have to look.
Yeah.
You can feel it. Use that to identify that's where I need to press. Whereas with the touch screen setup, it's different. And I think they have the mix here for sure within the movie of both analog and a little bit. They had a little bit of digital.
Well, and they have the stuff like the Medcom computer where they're like, this thing's the smartest brain in the room and it can do all the medicine things and tell us what to do. There's only 2 in the world. And you're like, okay, 1970 when we used basically a Casio smartwatch to land on the moon. I buy that they're working with these giant room computers that are just out of sight and all you're dealing with is an end terminal. And so that whole thing lets me sit in the story more and be less distracted by how they're describing the technology, which I found in the text.
True.
Right?
I would definitely agree with that statement that the text is pretty heavy on this is how this works. And this is, they even do some of the troubleshooting where like, you know, the guy is talking to the computer about his health. Yeah. And the computer doesn't get the voice recognition. It's like, I does not compute. And like, I felt that pain. I think that hasn't changed much since the 70s. We still all like talk to these things.
When you call in and start yelling, operator, representative.
I have a freaking Google Home. And if I talk to it in my normal voice, it doesn't understand me. It says like, that's not you. Like I have to do voice recognition and I have to be angry at it which means that I have trained it to like only respond to my angry voice.
Oh, that's pretty rough. That's
like, Google.
Okay, Google.
To my will.
Hey Siri. Okay, she turned on. Stop listening. So let's one of the things that this does too. So it's kind of, I think that's interesting. I think that's a cool space to be. But the other thing that I think was interesting in the text or in the movie that's not in the text is they frame it as a representation of a real incident. Do you remember that? Like the opening screen goes, acknowledgments. This film concerns the 4-day history of a major American scientific crisis. We received the generous help of many people attached to Project Scoop at Vandenberg Air Force Base and the Wildfire Laboratory in Flat Rock, Nevada. They encourage us to tell the story accurately and in detail. And that's how it opens. It's a very kind of not War of the Worlds framing, which is great.
I think, it adds a level of intrigue to it. Like, ooh, did it possibly happen?
Yeah.
The dramatization of this alien life form that showed up and just kind of fucked off the planet after a while.
Yeah. And I was watching that and I was thinking, well, we have a lot of information, a lot of newsreels, and a lot of people that have kind of gone through COVID and how the COVID response happened and how the science happened and why it worked and what we were able to do. But we still have a whole bunch of people that go, it's all lies, right? And so I wonder if there were people in this time that were like that watched it and went, yeah, they're telling us that, but they want us to think that is fake, and it's fake because it's actually real. So all this is just reverse psychology on reverse psychology, and all this stuff happened. I wonder if there was a dude watching this in 1971 that went home, and if he'd had a blog or a YouTube channel, would be on there going, yeah, we got to talk about Andromeda strain because that's just what they say in the media. But what actually happened is, and
he'd have gone viral. He would have gone viral.
He would have gone so viral.
His conspiracy theories go viral so
Have you been following The Final Experiment?
No. What's the final experiment? Do I want to know?
Yeah, this is actually super interesting, and it plays into this idea of like stuff that is things like this that purport to be real, but everybody knows it's fake. But could somebody be deluded? Like a lot of the flat earth stuff, there are people that are just trolling in the community and going, oh yeah, flat earth's real. And they're just being jerks, right? But then there's people in there that actually believe it, and they are very, very strange people. And so the final experiment is a guy named Will. I've forgotten his last name, but this guy who's he goes, no, the world is a globe. I can show you it's a globe. What do you need to prove it? And he asked that of the flat earth community, and the flat earth said, well, you have to show how water sticks to a sphere, or you have to show that, there's flight things they wanted. But one of the things they say is that flat earth is true, which means there's no 24-hour sun in Antarctica. And one of their arguments for this is that you're not allowed to go to Antarctica during the middle of winter, which isn't true. And so this guy funded at like 37 grand a pop, I think, an expedition. And he's like, you guys pick. Who do you want to represent flat earthers? And so he took 3 flat earth proponents that are super big in the community with him down to the Antarctic in December. Mm-hmm. And they live streamed a 24-hour sun. And the crazy thing is, all of the flat earthers are going, totally faked. It was on a green screen. They go, no, it wasn't a green screen. They go, okay, it was one of those big things like they filmed The Mandalorian in. And they're like, it's really insane the lengths they'll go to justify this stuff.
Yeah. And honestly, with the level of like deep fakes that are out there, the AI stuff that's like gone crazy, like you're going to get to a state where you will absolutely not be able to trust what you see through these channels anymore at all. Not without some type of verified content. Like there's going to be curators in the internet that you'll have to trust that person who curates, but everybody's going to pick different people that they trust. So that's already happening where people live in their own version of reality because they trust like Wars or like Stephen Colbert. Like,
right.
Like they pick their favorites, and then they just are trusting that person. And sometimes those people have ill intent or are just trying to sell protein powders.
And you know what's going to fuck all that up is when some company goes, hey, we've made an AI that can curate whether stuff is AI. They're just going to have, just run it through the AI and see if it's AI. It's like, oh, shoot.
Yeah. I think as a creator, I just want to lean more into grassroots things. So things that are local, things where I can interact with fans, people that can see that I'm real and not just like, oh, who was that guy? There was some Japanese guy who was posing as like a Japanese woman who was like a Instagram model or something.
There's a bunch of those on Twitch.
There's
like the ones, bunch. Yeah, there's the ones that are virtual YouTubers or VTubers. Mm-hmm. And they basically make an anime persona.
Yep.
Get a voice changer and play, kawi tariwa. And they just play video games as an anime character. And it's like a 40-year-old dude with a suit on.
Hey, whatever pays the bills, I guess.
It's like, man, this is... But to be fair, that stuff has always been out there since the earliest days of AOL chat. And even before that, people were like faking and writing telegrams pretending to be other people. So, it's more sophisticated now, but it's still massively problematic.
William Bell, you up?
Yeah. The movie does some stuff I really like, though, too. So besides having this interesting kind of framing that it has, mm-hmm. I like some of the jokes in this that, if they were in the text, never really landed. Example of that, I don't know if this was meant to be a joke, but there's a moment when, and everybody's got video phones, but they're like the cathode ray tubes, so they're like old TVs, so they're all square and in the walls. Yeah. They're in the walls, so they look flat, but it's just a cathode ray mounted in the wall. And there's one where the general, who, by the way, his name is Arthur Manchek. And every time they mentioned him and he talked, I couldn't help but think of Kent Mansley from Iron Giant. Like, they had the same kind of, I know what's going on, and you're not going to tell me different. Right. He had that kind of voice. And then his last name's Manchek. And I'm just like, I wonder if they're like cousins.
They're probably related. Cousins. Nepotism, it runs rampant.
Yeah. But they have at one point they call the guy that's their connection to the president about the nuclear bomb not being dropped, and he pops up on one screen, and then they're talking to him, and another guy calls in, and he pops up on the other screen. And so there's two screens, and they're talking to, and then at one point these guys are talking to each other, and they turn and face each other on the TV screens. And I was just like, that's gotta be it, and that's gotta be them making a joke. If not, it's hilarious, because it was great. But they do have like actual jokes in there too. Where's the lines? I wrote them down. Fly by the top. If it is a disease, when they go in and they're like looking through all the dead people, mm-hmm. like the dead people stuff was pretty. It was creepy. I can see this being kind of a suspense movie in the 1970s where you go in. It's about, a possible global disease outbreak thing from space. And that opening bit where the guys go in their van and they play them only on audio. And they're just showing the reactions on soldiers' faces while they listen to the guys go, there's another body. There's a body. Mm-hmm. There's nobody alive here. This is eerie. What's going on? And it does that. And it's just soldiers staring up at a speaker. It was
oh shit
great
moment
choice. Yeah.
And then they decide really to go deeper. They make a choice. They do make a choice to go in deeper into the town. And like, I can't remember, was it the guy in the command center that told them to?
Yes, because they go, hey, there's people dead. And he gets a book out and he looks through it. He goes, your orders are 171. Retrieve the satellite.
Yeah.
It's like,
and like minutes later, those guys are dead, screaming and dying,
screaming and dying. Yeah,
and everybody's looking around the command. It's like there's definitely a commentary there about, I think, like the right thing to do in that situation.
Yeah, and Vietnam is heavy over this too, right? Like there's that resistance to nuking the town, which is all dead anyway. But then the helicopter imagery and some of the stuff, there's definitely some zeitgeisty Vietnam stuff in it. I don't know what exactly, or if it was conscious, or if it's just kind of you get used to seeing that on the news and it creeps into your movies.
Maybe.
So they go in there and then they send. And this was great because I love how they do some of the special effects because they just kind of nod at stuff. So they get 2 guys that are going to go in their little spacesuits to retrieve the satellite, and they fly them in by helicopter, and they have the whole like, go to 1,000 feet after you drop us off, and then hover there. If we don't come back, you have to go. And then he's like, yeah, they're going to incinerate me. But they fly the helicopter in, and it has a shot of like one guy kind of leaning out and throws a ladder down. And then the next shot is them standing on the ground while the helicopter leaves. So they didn't have to get a stuntman. They just needed some guy in there to throw it out. And then it was really good though. It carried.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah. And that whole montage split screen where on the one side of the screen they have a oneer where they're following the 2 guys and they're checking all the rooms. And then on the right side, they're going like dead person, dead person, dead person. Really effective. Kind of an interesting artsy way to do it. Yeah, I think I enjoyed that.
I found that scene very captivating as well.
Yeah. I will say, though, that do you remember the last person they showed dead?
Oh, it was the half-naked lady?
Yeah, why was there...
I think they showed her twice, too.
Well, they end the montage on her and then pull back and are like, boob lady. And then they're just there for a second, and then they go on.
It doesn't matter how hot you are, the disease will get you.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if this is valuable to this. And I'm like, all right, well, it's the 70s, so they are like bodies are out there all the time. You have Woodstock happen while this was being filmed. So I'm like, all right.
This is like quiet church town in the middle of
I know.
Arizona.
What's she doing with the windows open?
She's just living life. She was until she wasn't.
Yeah. But then I watched that. I'm like, okay.
I feel like that was a smut sells moment.
I think so. I think they're going for that R rating.
Dead body. It's like
yeah. It's necrophiliac. It's not even necessary for what?
Although I guess if you want to give it a defense,
you can.
You're definitely showing like people just dying and falling over on the spot. So even if you're just like hopped out of the shower, put the towel on. Oh, why is everybody screaming? Ah!
Right.
But her hair was perfect, I will say, for having fallen down dead. Like
it was very much that. It just lands on the pillow.
Yes.
The dead people in there though too. Then they get into the weird ones, like the guy who's got his head in the bathtub, and one of the guys like, I didn't even know you could kill yourself like that.
You really can't.
They find the super religious lady hanging with the note, which is a pretty shitty note. It's like, may God save my soul. Screw all these other bastards.
Like, honestly, I laughed. I was like, I know that church lady.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of us know that church lady. And then they find the little small town doctor, which is where the satellite is. Mm-hmm. And for just a second, I had no idea what he was doing when he starts fussing with his belt, dropping him to the ground, trying to take his pants off. I'm like, what are you doing, dude? And why isn't the other guy going, what are you doing, dude? And that's when I thought it was a pretty funny joke, because he pulls his pants off and he goes, have a look at his buttocks. And the other guy goes, that's not funny. And he goes, no, I'm serious. Do you see any purplish marks on his butt? Because they were trying to see if the blood had settled, and it was a really funny moment. Just have a look at his buttocks. That's not funny. was like, this is good.
It had a good little bit there.
Did you ever watch Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Long time ago.
Okay, so it's this, for anybody that doesn't know, it's this show that used to be on public access, and then it was on Comedy Central for a while. But it's basically three guys sitting and making fun of a movie in a movie theater. So they're like in the front row as silhouettes, and they're just talking over it. And I had some trouble with this because I watched so much Mystery Science Theater that this is 100% looks like the movies they do. But I will say I think this is a much higher quality than the movies they did. However, I can still hear them making jokes throughout this whole thing just because my brain is ruined by Misty. So they go through there, they get their satellite, and then Peter Jackson shows up with a hatchet, or not a hatchet, a meat cleaver, and he passes out, and so they've got him and the baby, and then they get them back, and they gather their scientists, and they go into a hole in the ground.
Yep.
Yeah, and the gathering of scientists is pretty fun because everybody's surprised that their military has guns, like in residential neighborhoods.
Men with guns outside from the military.
And the kid comes in and is like, there's Daddy, there's a guy with a gun. He goes, oh, your imagination. And then Grandma's like, oh, no, they're out there. And it's like one dude with an M1 bolt action. It's like, oh, okay, that's basically what happens in Las Vegas. Those guys walk down the street with AKs now. I'm like, oh, you poor, sweet summer children.
America.
No guns in the suburbs. And I liked a lot of things they did with split screen in this. Like not just that one shot where they showed the stuff on the other side, but when two of the people are going down the elevator, they put one on either side and they're talking to each other. So it's two different shots that they patched on either side. And then in the middle, they have a really low budget black and white graphic showing the station and the elevator going down to time the conversation. I thought that was really nice too. Like they did a bunch of those that were a lot of fun.
And we talked about, you mentioned how they did a great job of like speeding up the science. And I think they utilized that tool in this media for that. Like they had the split screens where you could see like the different things happening at the same time. You are able to see that blueprint of the base without having to describe it on a page. Yeah. And he does do a bit of a walk to work with them going in. I'm thinking back to the book, with them going in and going through the different levels and stuff, which is, I would say, generally a no-no with writing. Like, try not to do that. But, you do what you can.
Where I think it does, and again, this is one of the things, I think the movie carries it better than the book. Watching them go through all of the decontamination levels puts this kind of, and then they're going deeper in the earth, and they're getting more and more of their humanity kind of pulled out.
And the colors change.
Yeah, it's a really nice kind of visual metaphor for reducing things to only what we need. Like even when they get their food, which I was weirded out by that. It's like 8 ounces. It has everything you need for a day. I'm not sure that works because 8 ounces of pure fat, like if it's just 8 ounces of rendered fat, it's 2,400 grams or 2,400 calories. Yeah. If it's an even third of each, it's about 1,700 calories with 0 vitamins, 0 filler, and no water. So that would be egregious to try and drink. And I watched that just being a person that has like, you know, I do like put a banana in milk and make it. And then I drink that in the morning sometimes. And that's not nearly enough. You have to eat so much stuff to get all your things. So I watched that. And I'm like, meh.
Honestly, I don't buy that lasting for very long. Like maybe you could do it for a day or two and you'd be grumpy, but you would get through it. But can you imagine doing a week of that?
Do you know Scott Adams, the guy that did Dilbert?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Okay, he's a weird dude. Like he's a super weird dude. He's gotten weirder as the years have gone on. And one of the things he had was called, I think it was called the Dilburrito. But he made a burrito that was supposed to have all of the things you needed for a day in one burrito. And he sold and marketed them, and people ate them. They're like, this thing's fucking huge, and it's disgusting, and it gives me the shits. And it was just like everybody that had them was like, all of the things that this does is bad for your body. Like, this in no way are you retaining half of the nutrients that this is supposed to give you, because it just messes up your intestines so bad. The dill burrito. The other ones that did that was, do you remember Soylent?
Like Soylent Green, or
no? There was a Kickstarter for a thing called Soylent, and they'd basically broken up your daily nutritional needs according to the FDA, right? So they took the FDA's required or recommended levels of everything and split it up among 3 shakes that were about 12 ounces each. And so you could just order a crate of these, and it would take meal planning and all that out, and you just wouldn't need to do it. You just drink them 3 a day.
Look at all that joy of life that you had that you don't have anymore with this marketing.
But it was huge in the Tech Bro set, because they're like, oh, this is right. I don't have to think about making eggs. I don't have to get cheeseburgers. I can just drink. I can drink it. I can keep coding so hard. Me and Andrew Tate are busties.
Oh, God.
I hate Andrew Tate. We don't need to talk about him. I'm sorry I brought him up. But it took off in the tech world, and it's one of those things where seeing it in the Andromeda strand, I'm like, God, these nerdy scientists have been trying to get away from eating forever. Why?
There's a guy that's trying to extend the longevity of his life.
Oh yeah, Eric.
You heard of it?
Yeah, it's Eric something, right?
I forget. He was one of those payment guys that made it big, and he was doing all sorts of treatments, and one of them was like blood transfusions with his younger son.
Yeah.
Who he has a good relationship with, which was kind of sweet. They did like a documentary on him on Netflix. But one of the things he does is he has this green smoothie in the morning that he drinks, and it's got ridiculous amounts of nutrition in it. But he also takes a ridiculous amount of pills too. Like, I don't know. And I think at the end of the documentary, it was like he had extended his life by 0.64 something. I don't even remember what the units were. And I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if dedicating your life to the extension of it, and you only get that little minuscule of a benefit, is really worth the amount of time that you put into it. Because really all you have is time.
Yeah.
Like,
so I found the guy you're talking about. His name's Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson, yes.
Which is, he's got $2 million a year to trying to be and look younger. And the dude looks like a plastic robot. He looks like if you cut him, he's going to put out that white stuff like the dude's an alien, right? But the latest news is that the blood that he was getting from his son actually looks like it's damaging him. And so he's lessening his life expectancy and had to stop it.
So, and one of the documentaries things is there was an actual like food and health scientist who's like, you could just fund a study. You have all this money.
Yeah.
You could fund studies to help determine what actually is going to have longevity with more than one use case. Like, because everything he's doing is like, he's doing so many different things. There's no real way to get a scientifically like, this specific thing you're doing is giving you this specific benefit.
Right.
Because there's just too much happening. But whatever. Anyway, point being, green milkshakes in the morning are insufficient and lack the joy of life.
They lack the joy of life.
These poor people in this hole in the ground that have to study this strain are having to drink it through a tube. Yeah.
It's crazy. The one that I actually enjoyed that's a documentary on the same kind of topic is Limitless with Chris Hemsworth. And he does like cold exposure with Wim Hof. I think Wim Hof's in there. They talk about Wim Hof. They do a full a juice cleanse. They do fasting. They like have him experiment on himself with all these different things to expand life. And he just talks about the experience. It's a really interesting series, super short. I think it's like 7, maybe 8 episodes. Yeah. And ladies, it's got Chris Hemsworth.
But what about Gwyneth Paltrow? Don't you want to know?
Oh my God. Don't goop. Ladies, don't goop.
Goops.
Don't put a jade egg anywhere.
She did it again.
Don't do that. Because jade is extremely porous, holds on to bacteria, and you can die from vagina poisoning if you're too goopy. Like, guys, not good. Yeah. So health. It's just interesting because they go down and they shed all their outer stuff, and then they give them a pill that looks like it's the size of like almost a silly putty egg, and they're like, yeah, you have to be clean on the inside too. And I'm like, this gets into that weird thing where what portion of your bacteria do you have to hold on to, and what happens when yours is different than somebody else's? And we are disgustingly gross creatures. And to get us,
you know how many things live in your eyebrows? It's amazing.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. And your eyelashes. You've got little things living in your eyelashes that are chewing on all the dead skin and stuff.
I appreciate them. They're part of my ecosystem. Honestly, right? Every living animal is its own little ecosystem of micro organisms. So, and they can influence your mood. I think we talked a little bit this in the book episode of We Contain Multitudes, that book that goes into your gut bacteria and how different types of gut bacteria in different animals influence the evolution of those animals.
Yeah.
So it is a bit of an odd concept to me, and maybe it's a potentially dated concept to me that they would... I can see where he's going with it. He wants to clean everything so that there are no possible microorganism contaminants in this laboratory environment. Right. And because it's so sterile, they can truly study the organism. I would argue that you're not studying its actual impacts on real people if it does get out, like, because you're not studying a person with a average microbiome.
Yeah. I thought that their cleansing of bacteria and all their stuff from the skin, the way I read it, was not so that they could study it if it broke out, but more so that they wouldn't bring anything that helped it change. Because there's so many viruses that, like, if you have the common flu and you get the bird flu, they'll mix inside of your cell and you'll get a new thing that can more easily transfer to humans. Like, I think that was the theory on why they were making them clean. That was my take on it, but I'm
Maybe
open to a different. Maybe
they just hate scientists. They just hate them. Whoever designed the prototype. It was like, this fucking science. Like, here, take the suppository. It'll cleanse your insides. Yeah, that'll get them.
So, one of the things I was thinking while they were doing that too is that one of the things that they could have, that if they did it now, so I think an Andromeda strain remake now would be really interesting with all the new stuff we have, right? And so, if they did it now, they'd give you a massive diuretic and a series of antibacterials and antivirals that would wipe everything out of your system. And you would be sick as shit because they did that. But then they give you a poop transplant that has the correct and balanced, like, this is a real thing, a correct and balanced microbiome for the underground laboratory. Like, you just reset it so you know what's there, not so you get rid of everything.
You could standardize, potentially, at least your gut bacteria. You wouldn't necessarily standardize everything external. I don't know enough about...
I don't even think you'd be able to normalize everything, because there's, like, chicken pox hides inside your body for your entire life if you get it. And then it pops up as shingles when you're older. So...
But that would be an interesting use case. So instead of the guy getting appendicitis, he was exposed to a virus that could potentially be influential over this strain. I'm trying to recall the reasoning for that total cleanse, internal and out. I don't recall if it's explicitly stated why they do it that way.
I think it's running on the same idea as like a clean room in a hospital and washing your hands and then putting on your stuff. It's because if you're down there and you're working with compromised patients, specifically the Peter Jackson and little baby Eduardo, I think. But if you're dealing with Pete and Eddie, you don't want to give them something that will compromise your research.
Yeah.
But then even though they're kind of
like they do.
Yeah. Which those were awesome suits. They did a great job on the weird arms that were reaching in and doing stuff, and the suits were really cool. Like, I thought that was great.
I could see that being a modern facility.
Yeah, the practical effects were fantastic.
Because it didn't even trigger like, oh yeah, 1970s technology moments. I didn't have that really. it was all just very streamlined. It was pretty cool. I think it's because Michael Crichton subscribed to all the science magazines. He's like, where's this going?
Yeah. I think it was writing for some of them too. So they get down in there and they're doing experiments, and I had a moment when the rat died. I'm like, shit, they just killed a rat. And then they bring out a monkey, and I'm like, oh shit, they're gonna kill a monkey. And I watch it, and I'm like, I'm turning this off and finding out what happened. So did you look into what the deal was?
Yeah, so they actually, I think they suffocated them with carbon monoxide, both the rat and the monkey. And
dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. Sorry.
Yeah, so they had no oxygen.
Yeah. And then they resuscitated them after the scene. So you can actually, supposedly in the monkey scene, you see the shadow of the person coming in. Because
100%
they're like,
can.
Ah!
Yeah, I went back and watched it. This is going to save the monkey.
Save the monkey! So a little bit of animal cruelty for those that are...
Well, it was... Yeah. So here's what I read, is that the ASPCA was present during the filming of the scene. They approved of it, and they had not only a guy... So they filled the room that the rat and the monkey were in with carbon dioxide and removed the oxygen. And so what you're watching that looks extremely painful was extremely painful because they're basically drowning. They're drowning with an environment with no oxygen. And so the monkey handler was just off stage with oxygen, comes in, oxygen, resuscitate. And not only that, but the director was in, the assistant director, so not Robert Weiss, but his assistant director, also had on scuba gear and a second set of oxygen. So they had two people ready to resuscitate that monkey. They did not resuscitate the rat.
No.
No, because it's a rat.
Yeah.
It's a rat. And that's like, oh, God, that's...
What a terrible way to go.
What a terrible way to go. And that poor monkey... To be like, congratulations. He looked so much in pain.
You see it. It is not a... It looks real.
Well,
it was
real.
Their realistic shot.
Oh, my God. And it was enough weird. There's a crazy guy going down the street in a wheelchair yelling about Jesus. Okay.
What a preach.
It's Peter Jackson. Where's my squeeze?
Peter Jackson! Yeah, that man is squeeze.
So I was disturbed by that. I was mollified by the ASPCA being involved, but that's a massive amount of rough pain on those animals. And then I did feel a little bit better that they only did one take. They're like, we're doing one take, and that's why you can see the shadow. It's because they weren't going to refilm it for a shadow. They went, this is enough. We've tortured this poor animal enough, which for the 70s is pretty considerate.
Progressive.
So I felt better about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we get Peter Jackson.
I don't think it was that impactful of a moment in my psyche that I would want to see an animal tortured for it.
No.
Like, do you get... Yeah.
I wonder about the people that went and saw it in 1971 in the movie theater. Did they watch that and go, oh, dead monkey, dead rat. That looked painful. I hope it doesn't happen to us. Or did they go, oh my God, that poor creature? Or I'll bet there were the girls that were turning away, and guys are like, no, watch. Don't be a pussy. Watch.
Don't be a pussy.
Like, I don't know. That was
stupid monkey.
Like it would have been interesting if they did it the same way as they did the people going into town, where they have somebody like taking notes, and all you hear is the voice narrating the notes. Subject is in extreme distress. Subject is currently exhibiting. Like, that might have been a different way to do it, where you could do it without hurting a monkey. Now we just CG it and have.
Yeah, I will say we do have the advantages of. Yeah. CGI and whatnot. Yeah.
Because you just have, especially with Peter Jackson related to the project, you could get Gollum.
Admittedly, if it had been like a Kermit puppet or something, that would have been totally taken me out of the movie. Like, oh no, I mean, don't suffocate me, please.
Have you heard all the Muppet movie ideas that float around?
No. What's going on?
So Disney owns the rights to the Muppets, right? Mm-hmm. So the theory is Disney should own? I know, just like a third of all entertainment. Well, more now probably. Anyway, The idea is Disney should stop making live action adaptations of its cartoons and instead make Muppet adaptations of its cartoons. And the best one I heard was Beauty and the Beast, where everybody is a Muppet except for the Beast, who's a human. And then at the end, he turns into a Muppet. And they're all talking about how ugly and ghastly he is until he's a little felt man. But if you remade the Andromeda strain with Muppets, I would absolutely watch it. Dr. Beaker and Bunsen Honeydew down in the basement, bringing everybody in. What's happening to the monkey, Beaker? Me.
Mark Hall is Kermit.
Mark Hall would be Kermit, 100%. I can't quite reach it. No. You could have Piggy as Dr. Levitt, except she'd kung fu people.
Yeah, absolutely. Kermit, when he gets the tranquilizer, just like half his face not moving.
What you do? Like, you're just doing this with your hand, just bending your fingers down.
Talking out the corner of his mouth.
No, that feels mean. I feel like we're making fun of stroke victims, but we're not. We're making fun of Kermit as a stroke victim. I want to be clear.
Yes.
I feel.
Oh.
Yes.
I feel like the director after he tortured that poor monkey.
I know. I just needed.
I hope he had a
shower.
Yeah.
Peter Jackson as a patient had some fun lines too. So he keeps talking about, and they're like, "Hey, what did you do for your ulcer?" And he's like, "I took aspirin and they go, and what?" And he goes, "I'm not telling." And then eventually they're like, "Is it squeeze?" He's like, "Yeah, it's squeeze."
Yay.
And if you hadn't read the book and known all the stuff about Sterno, I'm really curious how many people in 1971 watched that and go, "Oh, he's one of those," and know what squeeze is.
I feel like there's more than you'd expect.
Oh man, you're probably right.
America.
They're sitting there in the theater, and whenever he mentions squeeze, you have to take a shot of squeeze. It's a weird drinking game, my kids.
Oh no!
But he's down there. He's down there and he's talking about his squeeze and everything. And there's a moment when the baby's crying, and he just sits up in bed and goes, "Give her some squeeze."
He does.
Peter. Peter, you're the best.
He would absolutely be the conspiracy theory guy of modern day. 100%.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
100%.
So
and he kept
Gibson,
grabbing the nurse, like, "Come here, honey." I was like, "Oh, stop!"
Grabbing the nurse, asking for cigarettes, and there's a point where they're figuring out the acidosis thing.
Yeah.
And the nurse is like, "Can I feed the baby now?" And they're like, "Don't feed the baby. We have to get the blood test results. So don't feed the baby. We have to do another blood test." And then Peter pops up in frame and goes, "Hell of a way to run a hospital." He's back down. And I'm just like, this is amazing. Peter Jackson, you're my favorite. He was great. And then they roll into the final piece. And I thought their 5-minute timer was super jazzy when the nuclear warhead arms, and it goes 5 minutes until destruction, or 5 minutes countdown beginning, and the little clock lights up an orange pie section that's orange, and then it starts counting down. It's really nice visually. And then of course the whole thing where they're in a spot where they didn't build the thing they're supposed to build, and so he's got to go into the center thing.
I know.
It's such a contrived bit, and I didn't. What?
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. And then when he's going up the ladder, there's a couple of times where he fake slips on the ladder, and it looks so dumb. It looks like he's fake slipping on the ladder. And then he gets shot in the face with a laser, and it leaves like a little eraser-sized gray hole in his face. Not a very effective laser. I guess they were going for deterrent and not elimination.
I think they were trying to do the darts, weren't they? Because it was the tranquilizer thing that like supposed to stop any escaped animals. But there's also a ladder in there. Like,
yeah, good point. In this though, it was the gas that was making him fuzzy, and then he was getting shot by lasers. Gas. And they're watching him on camera, and they have the little like ASCII ladder that's moving back and forth, and then it comes into target and they go, "Doc!" He's just ducking out of the way of lasers. How does this work? Why doesn't it aim for the mass? Yeah. Apparently, the lasers are programmed to shoot the heads of humans, even though they're geared for animals. It doesn't care about the bulk or the movement.
Nope.
So he gets out and he turns the little key, and it's all fine. And then they make rain to knock the Andromeda strain into the ocean, which is alkali, and kills it, which is different than the book where it just kind of drifted off to space.
I might have been falling asleep at that point.
No, fair. It was... They made it to, he turns the key on 9, so they get under 10, but they don't get down to 5.
It wasn't that 30-second mark.
No.
As it was in the book.
And then they have the coolest end screen on it. So they did also frame this as the testimony of one of the doctors to a Senate subcommittee, but they weren't clear about the time jumps and stuff, and this is before and after, and so that pops in 3 times. But then they end on the Senate committee going... Okay, well, we've resolved this, so it's done, it's over, and it's kind of the ominous. Well, yes, until next time. And you're like, bum, bum, bum. And then they cut to disengage end program 00000 stop. It was a really nice end screen. I like that. It was a nice cut to it. So that was. It was fun. I enjoyed this one. Would you tell people to watch this ever?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
I would say it's an interesting premise, and I think I liked the characters more, especially the scientist characters more in the movie than I did in the book. They do just a little bit more depth to them. And for Peter Jackson alone.
Peter Jackson.
You got to get your squeeze guy in life. You got to understand what the squeeze is.
That's right. Everybody wants a little squeeze in their movie.
I just want a meme of him where's the squeeze?
Popping up, hell of a way to run a hospital.
You want to survive the next plague? Get your squeeze in.
He felt like if you could get...
Maybe don't promote that.
If you could get him and another guy like him, it would be Statler and Waldorf for the 1970s. Well, they were in the 70s, but I just mean it'd be great to have them sitting around and going... Do you know how far underground we are? Not far enough, in my opinion. Oh, they're just sitting, cracking shit over the thing, handing squeeze back and forth. It just says Sterno on the side. They're sticking their finger in it like it's the end of the dip.
Casual Sterno. It's fine.
That would be great. I would absolutely watch that. I enjoyed the film. I think if you're split between reading the book and watching the movie, I think you should watch the movie instead of read the book. Yeah, same.
I think, you don't get anything out of the book that you wouldn't get from the movie in this case.
Yeah, and I think that's how Michael Crichton writes, though. I think eventually we'll probably do Jurassic Park on here, and that has the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
It bounces right through, and it's almost a shot for shot from the text.
There's some differences, I will say. Spielberg had a lot more fun in Jurassic Park than I think this director did.
Fair.
And he kind of monster movies it a bit.
He does monster movie it a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's something to talk about with that one. But I do think that Michael Crichton writes very much in a cinematic style. He writes scenes. He writes explanations and motivations for the scenes that you don't need to see on screen, but translate to how people interact. But he writes very filmically. Because didn't he write on ER for forever? Yeah,
he did. Because he had a doctor's background.
Yeah.
That he never used.
Yeah. So he's directly connected to George Clooney. That's what we should take from this.
Crichton and Clooney. Hand in hand.
Crichton and Clooney. All right, so I guess we're gonna call that a wrap on the Andromeda strain. It's fun. I liked reading the book and I liked watching the movie. I liked watching the movie more. I don't know if the book is necessary. It doesn't hold a cultural spot.
If you want to know about the Andromeda strain, watch the movie.
Yeah,
you'll get what you need out of that.
You get plenty. Briar, you want to do one more plug for where they can go and find you, or where can they get their book now that the Kickstarter is over? Is that going to come for sale elsewheres?
So it's on Amazon. So
sweet.
If you look me up of Gambling on Common Sense by L. Briar, you'll see somebody falling out of a spaceship and looking very determined. There's Or if you are just curious about the book, I did a few little like animated shorts with the artwork that's in there. There are 8 scenes, and all of that's on my YouTube channel. So if you just look up Laughing Briar, you'll find me. And you'll find highlights from this show because I love doing this. It's fun.
No, it's good. She does more than I do. You guys know where to find me. You've already found me, but if you want more links to all the random crap I do, it's at justinduke.com. There'll be links in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. If you're on podcasts, leave us a review, whatever platform you're on, and we will see you next time. Go read a book, watch a movie. Bye.